Good evening, members of council, staff, ladies and gentlemen. I see that we have quorum, and I call this regular meeting of the Town of Pelham Committee of the Whole to order. It's been moved by Councillor Ribbiak that the agenda for the February 3rd, 2014 regular meeting of Committee of the Whole be adopted. Are there any changes to the agenda? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. The next item is disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. That is, any conflicts of interest. Are there any conflicts that members of council need to note? Can that be noted that there are not any conflicts? The first item is under corporate services. It is regarding the disposal of Old Pelham Fire Station number 2. It's been moved by Councillor King, seconded by Councillor Durley. The Committee of the Whole received the issue summary report, disposal of Old Pelham Fire Station number 2. And the Committee of the Whole recommend the Council direct staff to proceed with the sale of 792 Welland Road, Fenwick, and that the sale be completed through the engagement of a real estate firm as permitted by the sale of real estate property bylaw. Questions, comments? Councillor Ribbiak?
Mr. Mayor, I wonder if we can hold off on that until we've determined some final position with respect to Fenwick Library. This location is, I guess, an alternative. I don't know that it is or that it isn't. But if we undertook to put it on the market and sell it, then we don't have it as an alternative for that anymore. So I'm just wondering whether we can hang on to it for a bit longer until the other question is resolved.
Okay, thank you. Mr. CAO, do you want to comment on that, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for information, the existing old fire station structure is not suitable for retrofit. It's suitable for demolition. So practically, it would make sense to, if the council considers renovating the existing library facility, that would certainly make some sense, or finding a alternate lease location. But we've looked at the condition of the building, and council had asked that this matter be deferred with regards to the library. The library has not raised any intention or desire to look at that as a possible location. So I would recommend to council that we proceed with the sale of the asset.
Okay, thank you. Councillor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not sure I find that as entirely satisfactory. I understand that the library board at the end of the day is going to determine what library services they are going to provide, but we're going through a creative exercise to determine a couple of things. I guess one is the disposition of the land we own, or the building that we own that the library is currently housed in. The other is what we as a council are going to be saying will be our willingness to support library services if indeed library services are going to be continued in Fenwick. I look at that property as one of several alternatives that may or may not pan out in terms of this discussion, but I don't want to look to the end of the discussion and declare it one way or the other. I don't think that renovating that building necessarily works. I think building on that site might work. After all, the town doesn't have it has the fire hall, of course, as a public building, but it doesn't have a social building, if I can call it that, in that town. There are other alternatives as well, but I just don't want to close off one avenue. And I'm not sure that the entire decision will be made by library services. I think that it's probably going to be influenced somewhat by the decision that we as council come to with regard to that. So to the extent that that decision might be influenced, my preference would be just to hold off on that until the other discussion is finished.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Others to the motion? Councillor Lane?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I tend to have to agree with Councillor Ribbiak. First of all, I don't necessarily know what the hurry is, that it has to happen tonight. I know at one point in time, to reiterate what he said, is that that was in fact the site that was looked at by the library board for a new branch. And if we're going to go through an exercise with the library board and the public on library needs, then I don't think that we should shut the door and tell them that we made a decision. I frankly think that there's no real hurry to dispose of the particular fire hall or the property as that matter goes, and I would concur that. Let's hang on it and see what comes down the pike in the next 1 or 2 months or 1 or 2 meetings. So
Okay. So, two of you have spoken to this issue. For some action to occur on it, you do have the option of suggesting, putting forward a motion to postpone to a certain time consideration of this recommendation. So I put it to you, and I see, Councillor Kersey, I'm gonna turn to Councillor Ribbiak because he's spoken to it already. So postpone to a certain time, I think would be an appropriate motion, if that's what you want to do.
That's what I would like to move, Mr. Mayor, that we postpone this until the discussion with respect to libraries services in Fenwick and in West Pelham are resolved, and we know that this is no longer going to be an issue in that discussion.
Can we say a potential? And we know that it's not a potential for,
Yes, perfect, love it.
and Councillor Lane, will you second that?
No second required.
Oh, no seconder required, thank you, you're right. Okay, discussion to the motion, it is, we can have discussion on why the motion should not be postponed, not the motion itself. Councillor Kersey, did you want to?
Could you say that again?
Sorry,
Yeah,
we
say that
can
again,
have,
Alice.
sorry if I said it too quickly, we can have discussion on the motion to postpone, but not on the motion of whether it's real estate or not real estate or
Gotcha.
whatever.
And
So,
talk to the motion, but.
right, so to the motion that's before us to postpone, we can speak to, and would you like to, Councillor?
Sure, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Quite honestly, I was surprised to see this back on the agenda, given that I believe there was a motion that we wouldn't deal with this until the issue of Maple Acre was dealt with by the joint meetings between council and the library board. That was made some time ago when this first came to the table. So while I'm not necessarily supportive of a brand-new library in Fenwick, and you all know where I think, you know where I stand on all that, I do think that there was a motion brought before how with respect to that some time ago, and I don't think it's necessary to re-deal with it. I think it.
Okay. Just to that and to why it's here, staff and I had the conversation following the meeting, the joint meeting, and there were no references at all to to this property, so that's why it was suggested that it be brought forward here. So, but what I'm hearing is a number of colleagues around the table are suggesting that maybe keeping that door open as an option is a good idea. So that's what we're dealing with. Councillor Papp, anything further on this? I see you
guess
and Councillor Durley.
Just to expand on that, besides just the potential for the option for the library, I guess my other more technical questions, is the building at a point where it's unsafe and needs to be demolished? Mr. CEO?
Mr. CEO, can you
We'll defer to Al.
Or Mr. Mano,
Mr.
someone can
Mano,
answer?
you comment on that?
I think it's just unsafe from a health perspective. There's mold, there's mildew, that sort of thing inside, and it leaks. The roof is leaking right now.
Thank you.
So just on those lines, Mr. Mano, nobody's been there using the building right now for any purpose whatsoever, right?
Just storage.
Just storage, right. Secondly, how much property are we talking about there? Do you know?
It's probably about 50 meters deep, I would think, and probably 50 across.
So roughly a quarter of an acre or less than that?
Half an acre?
250 square meters.
And then, what's it zoned as? Is it currently institutional zoning? Mr. Sia, do you know, or what's the zoning on the property?
Zoning? It's probably institutional, I would
I
guess.
believe it is institutional.
if it's a
though
fire,
I
yeah,
would-
it'd be
I would have
institutional.
to confirm that, but I believe that's correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
I'd like to wait.
Okay. Thank you. Other, Councillor Durley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just in looking forward, the beautification of downtown Fenwick is going to be taking place, and sometimes when things positive happen there, it attracts attention to that. And in fact, if the beautification brings in some interest for somebody to move into a spot, that would be an ideal location for a business to come in. Of course, I'm not saying we should keep the building, because obviously the building isn't worth keeping. However, the property is of some significant importance. I feel we could wait and see what's going to happen, not necessarily for the library, but for, for anything that may follow the beautification of downtown Fenwick. And that would be, like I say, if Fenwick is beautified, somebody may want to come there and beautify it further by putting something up on that site. So I'm in favor of waiting until something pops up and we can make a better decision on it.
Okay, thank you very much. Any others to the postponement? I'm going to call the question on the postponement, and that was, I guess we have that, postpone it till after the discussion regarding library services is resolved, and we know that site is not a potential for that. Okay? Is that essentially what it is?
I have it in red.
Motion to postpone until such time as the discussion respecting library services in West Pelham are resolved, and that we are confident this land will not be a potential location to house a library. Okay, gonna call the.
Mr. Mayor, just further to what I said, let's not zero in just on a library. And if I need to make an amendment to the amendment, in fact, other uses rather than specifically a library. I think if we scope it to just a library, that sort of loses the perspective that I'm coming forward with.
Yeah, I think, just to defend the amendment, that's what Councilor Ribbiak said. So if there's a change to the amendment, that's what he said. So, Councilor?
That's true, you're absolutely right, that was what I had suggested, but I certainly accept Councilor Durley's addition to that for library service or any other use that the town may determine for it. May determine is appropriate for it.
Okay, will not be a potential use for the town. How's that? Instead of potentially library use, a potential use for the town.
If you wish to,
Okay.
then you do that.
Is that, I know that there's more to it, Councilor Durley?
Just the lines were not scoped just to a library, because they're, a piece of property gives us many opportunities, and this is what I want to leave it open to.
Okay. Do we have to vote on the amendment?
We're going on the amendment by Councillor Durley first, to
Okay.
remove the words location to house a library, change that to be a potential use for the town.
Councilor Durley, so you're
Well,
ready?
not necessarily for the town. Potential alternative use, period. It may not be a town use, it may be a private
Okay.
use. However, if in fact we still have control of that property, we might be able to direct something in that regard, and somebody coming to us will be able to have still
Potential
a
use,
little bit
period.
control.
Alternative
Alternative
use.
potential uses, how's that?
Potential alternative uses.
Yes.
Does that work? And that, again, that
can
opens everything, it opens everything wide open. This is what I'm looking to keep in place there.
So there's
Go
an
ahead.
amendment being proposed by Councillor Durley, that the words location to house a library be replaced with alternative uses, so that if that passes, the motion would then read to postpone the decision until such time as the discussion respecting library services in West Pelham are resolved, and we are confident this land will not be required for potential alternative uses.
Okay.
I would suggest in the
No.
word required.
That's not
No,
it.
that's not it? I don't know what you want then. I don't know what you want.
Councilor King?
My recommendation is alternate growth potential, because that's not narrowing it to the town. It's allowing town and beyond, which I think is what John is
That's my intention,
referring.
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Alternative uses doesn't capture that.
Will not be required.
For,
I guess I'm just going to weigh in here on this. My understanding, and I'm not trying to debate the motion that's been presented initially, my understanding of this recommendation regarding real estate is really to find those alternative uses, which is what Councilor Durley, Councilor King, others are saying. And I think that's one way in which that can be done. I guess my concern with this is that there's no way in which that can be accomplished, or staff would turn to us and say, okay, how do we accomplish that now? Really, we have to make a determination, I think, as a town, that we're not going to use the facility, and then we let it go. And whether it's with real estate or another method, and we say, okay, what are the highest and best uses for this property? I don't know how we capture that, other than to say that maybe the clerk has the answer, but that's the idea, I think, of the main motion. Madam Clerk, what do you have here?
What if it were to read that the land would not be required for potential municipal assets? Asset being the land itself or the building?
Municipal uses, I guess, is what it is. Councillor Kersey for a first time on this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Could I suggest perhaps that we amend to say merely that the sale of the property be postponed until such time as staff brings forward a report outlining highest and best use, suggested appraised value, that type of thing, so that, in fact, when council makes the decision to put it on the market, we at least understand what we're trying to do.
Okay, well, that's entirely different.
Well,
in
it
the
is,
sense
but
that you're providing more detail to it.
We're still trying to tie this to the library, and I think what most of us are saying is that let's not tie it to the library. Let's find out what uses it could be put to. Maybe it's in our best interest, or the town's best interest, to rezone the property from institutional. I mean, that's pretty restrictive. Prior to putting it on the market, these are the types of things that if we engage perhaps an appraiser, it might bring forth a report that might be helpful in making an informed decision. I
Okay.
think we're shooting and we don't have the right bullet.
Okay, so the councillors indicated that perhaps the sale of the property be postponed pending a report outlining highest and best use, appraised value, zoning. So would this be for I think we're all trying to get to this, right? It's a similar type of concept. And somebody else has another idea. Councillor Ribbiak has another idea, which I'll allow, and then we'll really have to boil this down and settle this question. How's that sound?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Why don't we simply postpone this question for 6 months?
Well, that's a time element that's different. So right now, we're dealing with the library use and a potential amendment from Councillor Durley and others to say, let's do something else. So in terms of procedurally, Madam Clerk.
I knew you were gonna ask me.
Where are we?
Well, Councillor Durley has proposed an amendment to the amendment, and I believe it would be to, that the land it's been determined that the land is not required for alternative uses. But there was a lot of conversation about that, so I'm not 100% on whether that's.
Okay, so the only way,
Alternative town.
well, he said all uses, really. Can we direct staff
said
to,
all uses.
when it comes back, that it have certain things to it? Let's do that. OCO.
Mr. Mayor, I'd be more than happy to
Thanks,
just
Darren.
provide council, or have council defer the matter. Staff will look at it further and come back at a future date with some additional information.
That's good.
Very good.
And I've got all the notes.
So we're just postponing and you'll come back
Yes, sir.
with this. And what about the library? You're
We'll,
saying,
we'll address the issues as best we can from the information that we've heard from all points of view of council tonight, Mr. Mayor.
okay. That's the recommendation before us, so does that mean we remove these motions? Is that the best way
Well,
to do it?
that motion to defer would, basically, the other.
Okay, perfect. So we need a motion to defer, send back to staff, get additional information at the appropriate time as they've heard. So moved by Councillor Papp and seconded by many others. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried, so that's postponing and referring to staff. Thank you very much.
You done?
throw that away. That's a cheat sheet.
I gotta get home more sleep.
Hey.
Deferred, referred. Thank you. Good discussion, though. The next item has been moved by Councillor Lane, seconded by Councillor Papp. The Committee of the Whole received the January 2014 Corporate Services Monthly Report for information. Comments, questions? Anything? There was the, I believe, I spoke to the treasurer about this, one of the tenders that was there that is the, for Fire Station number 3, which we dealt with earlier. So I'm going to call the question on the motion. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. For the update, it's been moved by Councillor Kersey, second by Councillor Lane. Committee of the Whole received the Pelham Distribution System 2013 Summary Report for information. Discussion. Tremendous work by staff. Councillor Durley.
Yes, just to build on that, the item regarding the distribution system summary report, the town staff always sampled drinking water for presence of anything that is harmful. And I'm really glad to say that we have passed all the tests, and kudos to staff for this testing and keeping this up. And if somebody knocks on my door to say the water in Pelham isn't safe and you need to buy a water purifier, I'm drinking town water and it tastes good.
Thank you very much, Councillor.
Toast to you.
Toast to everyone. Cheers. Any others? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Kudos to staff for your ongoing work on this. Thank you, Mr. Manley. It's been moved by Councillor Ribbiak. The Committee of the Whole received the Minimum Maintenance Standard Update Report for information. Very interesting read. Discussion. Councillor Ribbiak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wonder if any thought has been given to any change in practice as a result of our receipt of this letter?
Mr. CEO.
Sorry, I didn't know if Mr. Mann wanted to say anything, but in response to that, we already have changed his response to that. We also have had staff, of which I participated as well, have a winter operations seminar with our insurer. I learned a great deal about the level to which we do go, and I would say that not only do we meet, we exceed what's been outlined in the report.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mantle, would you, anything further?
Nothing further.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Rivia?
Thank you. I understand that we meet all of the minimum standards. The letter, I think, went to the question of to what extent do we predict? Ought we to know what's coming and make preparation for it? I'm just wondering whether any changes made around those practices. And perhaps none have been. I'm just curious.
Mr. Mantle?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we continue to monitor, and we always have monitored the weather. There's the technologies there to check it out on a regular basis to ensure that we're ready to go when that winter storm arrives.
Okay, thank you. And no practice changes were required, is that?
No.
Okay. Thank you. Others? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion's carried. Thank you very much for providing the information to us, because it was a discussion at our last meeting, our previous meeting. Thank you. Been moved by Councillor King, seconded by Councillor Durley. The Committee of the Whole received the January 2014 Public Works and Utilities Report for information. Councillor Kersey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mr. Mantle. Mr. Mantle, you've indicated that Hydro One has finalized their design and cost estimates. I just wondered how that plays into...
This is regarding Fenwick revitalization?
Yeah,
Yep.
sorry, Mr. Mayor. Regarding our budgeting, and does it fall within what we've allocated for underground electrical servicing?
Mr. Mantle?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the cost estimate we've been provided was, I think, around $750,000, and we've budgeted, I think, around the $1 million mark.
Good, thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you. Anything else on that area? Others to that area, Councillor? I do have a question, because it's not outlined in the report. Can we just hear a little bit more about the timing of the revitalization. Talking here about the investigation in January, et cetera. So what's our best case scenario in terms of tender and timing? And I guess review by committee, final review by committee.
Yes, I believe the engineers provide us with a schedule, identifying the end of March as being the tender will be ready at that time. Then tendering proceeds through April, mobilization near the end of April, and construction commencing shortly thereafter.
Okay, I thought you were trying to advance that slightly.
Well, again, there's a process they have to follow through with the tendering, and tendering generally takes 2 to 3 weeks. Evaluation of those tenders, that sort of thing. So there's a bit of a timeline there.
Okay, thank you very much. Look forward to that moving forward. Others to other areas of Mr. Mannel's report. Councilor Ribbiak.
Thank you. I wanted to, quick question with regard to the Cherry Ridge stormwater. I think that's retention pond, or is it really detention pond? I think
Detention?
Yeah, it is detention. Oh, it misbehaved. The question I have is with regard to a letter that we received, or at least I received a copy of, that I think was directed to Mr. Mannel as well, with regard to biologic hazards endemic to a strain of raspberries or whatever. I wonder whether that was...
Call that one. Mr. Mannel, do you recall that one?
Yes, it was from a neighbor to the site, and we're investigating to see if the raspberries do manage to carry the virus or
Oh, right.
whatever the issue was. So it's under investigation still.
Great, terrific.
Okay, thank you. Other items? Pleased to see the tender award for Centennial Park playing field improvements. And glad to hear that that project is moving forward. So congratulations on that. I had a question about the neighborhood traffic management programs that are outlined in the both Hay Street and Pancake Lane. I understand from the report that it's been a little bit difficult to get folks together. Is it possible that, again, what's the timeline on this one? If it's hoped, as it says in the report, that the meeting will occur in February, do we know the timing of when any resolution can come to council, Mr. Mannel?
It was this afternoon we held the first meeting.
Very good.
So there'll be an additional meeting beyond that. We'll do up the minutes, circulating to the members of the committee, and come up with some solutions. We identified the problem today, and a series of ideas came forward from that. So the next step will, as I said, circulate the minutes to the group with the proposed solutions, come to some sort of an agreement as to what is the best solution to present to council, and then move forward from there.
Very good. Glad to hear it's progressing. I received a few emails on this, so thank you very much, Mr. Mannel, for that, continuing to move that along. Any other items from Mr. Mannel's in the Public Works report? I did have one other question I just noticed. The water meter issues, 10 repairs. Aren't these brand new? Why are we repairing them? Any comment on that?
They malfunction from time to time. It's a magnetic drive on them, and anything could hinder that. So it may not be necessarily a repair as opposed to just some troubleshooting.
Okay, thank you very much. Going to call the question on the report. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you for that. The next item has been moved by Councillor Gurley, seconded by Councillor King. The Committee of the Whole received the issue sheet regarding the zoning bylaw amendment application for the Pelham Marina for consideration. The Committee of the Whole recommend that Council direct staff to prepare the bylaw to amend the zoning from open space OS zone to public P zone for lands located on the west side of Hay Street, north of Welland Road, municipally referred to as 1120 Hay Street, legally described as Concession 9, Lot 3. Any discussion? No discussion. I did have, just maybe want to hear from colleagues on this. In early November, maybe I should ask the deputy mayor to take the seat. Would you mind taking the seat, Mr. Deputy Mayor?
Sure.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Back in, this issue is really prompted by an issue of adding a building, a portable building, to the arena facility to allow staff to eat their lunches and to use the facilities, et cetera. And in early November, staff indicated that the issue had to be dealt with imminently. And I recall there was a motion at that time to kind of defer it until such time as we made decisions regarding recreational facilities, arenas, et cetera. And it was deemed at that point to be imminent and really a health and safety issue. Then council learned that a zoning change was required, and that meeting was held in early December. And now here we are in February for something that had to be dealt with immediately. Now, I know that sometimes things take a little bit of time, but usually if it's a health and safety issue, an immediacy issue, it's something that, we can get through quite quickly. Since that time, we've heard from Leisure Plan with their recommendation to construct new arena and whatever that looks like. We're going to be getting a report of the business case in March, and it looks like we're going to be moving ahead. I guess I don't see, and I would look forward to hearing from council colleagues, this particular issue as an imminent health and safety issue, and I'd rather concentrate on the new arena facilities. So I just want to hear, I don't know if any councilors want to comment on that or dip their toe in on that issue. And I guess the final thing to say is it certainly seems that we do have to amend this to otherwise we have to tear down facilities. But maybe that the caveat to this or the amendment would be that council would not approve the purchase or lease of a portable building for a staff lunchroom as a result of that. So just want to hear from colleagues, Mr. Chair, before I kind of put a motion forward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Perhaps in fairness, before we hear from council colleagues, maybe I could suggest that staff comment on your comments, and we could hear from council colleagues with respect to the immediate need and the immediacy and the health and safety issues that have been raised. And here we are now 3 months, 4 months out, and we've had a deferral of that, and have those issues gone away and been resolved without us spending the money? Do you want to comment on that, Mr. CAO, or?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The issue has not been resolved. We still have some concerns with regards to health and safety and the ability of our staff to function in a safe workplace. I was a little unprepared to discuss the change room tonight. This is simply a zoning that has to go ahead no matter what. So to what level of information I might have to call on Mr. Mantle or Ms. Pupo to augment.
Thank you. Mr. Mantle, do you have anything to add to the discussion?
My recollection is that initially this started off as a trailer being placed somewhere near the rear of the arena site, and it was determined that would not be a satisfactory location. Staff likely wouldn't use that location since it's a long walk to the trailer, especially in the wintertime. It's now gone to this a new location at the front of the building, requiring the rezoning, and placing it at that location certainly is an enhancement to the use by staff. Staff would more likely use it if it's connected to the building or in close proximity to the building. So that's kind of where we're at this stage.
So just for clarity, Mr. Mantle, if I may ask a question, I understand that the rezoning is not a result of the trailer position, but more a result of the fact that we're not even compliant with the current zoning having the arena on it. Is that not correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay, so the trailer issue is a separate issue from the issue that's before us here, which is the rezoning, right? Council colleagues like to comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it needs to be rezoned no matter what, because we've got an inappropriate use on it. We've discovered it. We understand it was a mistake that needs to be corrected. And so I think that needs to happen. If I have any concern at all, it is that the process from the beginning to this point, as Mr. Mayor has pointed out, has been a lengthy one. And yet that in the light of the fact that we thought it was a really urgent issue. And I just worry that if we are presenting to our customers, I guess developers and others, that it takes that long and that involved a process in order to get a change like this, I just wonder whether, if we can't get it done any faster for ourselves, then I think that our processes generally need a review, which we understand and which we're working on. But I think this would be an example of that.
Do you have any other comments? Councillor Durban.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The fact remains that it can't be used the way it is being used under the zoning, so it's a no-brainer. We need to call the question and change the zoning to do it. And in fact, if there's something else that needs to be discussed in a lunchroom or something like that, that's an argument for another day. Today, as the CAO has pointed out, let's make the zoning compliant with what it's been used for generations here. So, let's call a question.
Mr. Mayor, did you want to comment?
I might comment, and I appreciate the comments from colleagues around the table. I guess I would first ask the question, if this is approved at council, what happens? Does certainly the zoning changes, there's an appeal period, all those good things. But I presume that then staff would carry forward with the decision on the facility. Can we just hear from staff regarding that?
Yes, to answer the mayor's question, Mr. Chairman, as I understand, the facilities coordinator has already received, administration has already received the approval of council to proceed. She has been moving that project forward, including the building code requirements, moving the building, and I'll just touch on Mr. Mannel's comments about the necessity of having it physically linked to the building or brought up right to the building, because there is a requirement for staff to be in the building during operation. If it was a separate standalone, and you've got only one or two staff, you'd have working alone issues, etc. So I understand those have all been worked out. Once the zoning is completed, it would be a matter of installation. I do believe a trailer has been ordered. So my understanding is that the project is moving ahead as we've already received that approval.
Okay. Perhaps, colleagues, if I could ask the clerk, Madam Clerk, if we have passed a motion directing staff to proceed with the purchase, is there a mechanism by which we could subsequently rescind that direction or that motion? Or is it a fait accompli at this point?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there would be a mechanism to rescind. However, I would caution that council may want to have more information with regard to what contracts we may have already entered into with regard to the purchase of the building, because we could be setting ourselves up for litigation if we've already signed contracts, and that the CAO may have more information on that.
Thank you. So, colleagues, I think if I just may comment, and then Councillor Papp, I recognize you. I think we're dealing with two issues here. One is the issue of the rezoning, which is fairly simple and straightforward in this. The secondary issue is basically whether or not we want to continue to proceed with the direction or the motion that we passed some time ago, directing staff to go ahead and purchase the trailer. So, what's your thoughts on we deal with the zoning, and then, Mr. Mayor, if you want to make a motion with respect to the other, then I would suggest perhaps you give us a notice of motion and we bring it forward on our next, or you make the motion at this point with colleagues' indulgence. Is that a reasonable approach?
That's fair, and I think I do see, as the CAO this is it's all wrapped up into one. And I do see it as two separate issues, but I also see it wrapped up into one issue. So I'll formulate a motion as we.
Okay.
Councillor
Papp, you had raised your hand to speak to this.
I'll be quick. Rezone it, you have to rezone it, period. There's nothing you can do about that. I would request that, and subject, I'll listen to what Mr. Mayor comes up with, that we need more information about what has happened, transpired at this point with the acquisition of the building that we did approve. I'm pretty sure we did. And secondly, we need to be cognizant of the fact that if in fact we enter into some sort of a contract arrangement, but more importantly, I heard more information tonight that now we're talking about putting this building close and attaching it. Can we not have the staff come here and, just like you asked before, explain to us what you're doing so we understand it and we can then feel comfortable or not comfortable with whatever we're happening there. The rezoning, I understand totally, because Councilor Durley, it's been like this way. Just fix it. And then we'll deal with, we'll get the additional information about what's transpired as far as the lunch facilities and all the rest of it, rather than debating the whole semantics of it. And let's get it sorted out. It's been a while, and let's put it to bed.
Counselor,
Maybe
Pat,
you-
your comments are well taken. Colleagues, are there any other comments with respect to that? So I'm going to call the motion with respect to the rezoning. Would you like me to read it out, or?
No.
So, all in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Mr. Mayor, I promised you an opportunity.
Thank you very
Go
much,
for it.
Mr. Chair. And so it's a simple motion that additional information be provided to council regarding the purchase or lease of a portable building for a staff lunchroom. And update information, obviously, maybe it means that, you know, if you're about to enter into a contract tomorrow, you kind of hold off until council gets the information, that kind of thing. But I think we're just saying, and I don't know if this motion captures it or not, but just kind of hold off. We just really need more information on this particular issue. And that it would come to, the way the motion's written, it's going to come to council at the same time as the zoning. So it'll come to the next council meeting.
So you want it to go directly to council as opposed to back to
Yeah.
the committee?
I think so.
Bring it forward. Tell us what's going on.
Okay, we don't need a seconder for that. We'll now look to the table to speak to it. Councilor King.
I am somewhat confused by this because my understanding in the first place when this came to the table was that there was a health and safety issue. This is a serious matter. I mean, it's taken 3 months to get to this, that now we're saying, well, maybe we should wait and see whether we need it at all. And secondly, at the same time, there was a question that came up about what are we going to do with this trailer if and when we know what's going on with the arena. And I believe that the response to that was that that trailer could be relocated to Tice Road or, you know, some other purpose. So if somebody can clarify why we're sitting on an employment standard, as far as I'm concerned, right now, and maybe putting it on hold and retracting contracts, then I'd love to hear the explanation, because it makes no sense to me.
Mr. Mayor, would you like to respond?
Just to that, I don't think this is putting anything on hold. I mean, the motion has to, the rezoning has to come to us next meeting anyways. I was just saying, you know, don't run out tomorrow and lease the building if you're about to do that. And I'm not saying that staff would. That's the only comment. So it's just looking for more information. And I think it's quite clear from the discussion that we're having that it needs to be clarified. That's all I'll say.
Councilor Durley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to the CAO, my understanding is that we granted the, this decision earlier, and it's a done deal. It's ordered and it's going to be delivered. Correct me if I'm wrong, and if that's the case, we're arguing over a moot point, because in fact, it's fait accompli already, is it not?
I'd have to, again, I'm not prepared to speak with detail because I don't know. I know staff has been working on it. I know that Ms. Holland has been in touch with the company. Whether or not a contract's been signed, I have to check. So I certainly can provide that information, but my understanding is that this issue has been debated and resolved by council as far as approving it to go ahead. So we're working on that basis.
And again, if it has been approved, it was debated, approved, and voted on, so why are we doing it again? Sorry, I don't see the logic in this argument.
Councilor Rubin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just going to follow up on Councilor Durley's point by asking the clerk perhaps to explain the process that is available for reopening a decision that's already been made. How would we go about doing that?
Madam Clerk.
Through you, Mr. Chair, it would be through a motion to rescind, and that would have to be brought forward as a notice of motion or in the future. But as I mentioned earlier, I would caution against that until we have that extra information about what contracts we may have already entered into.
And to follow up further, is a motion to rescind a simple majority, or is there a higher majority required?
It would be a new motion, so it's just a majority.
So it's not one of those issues where you reopen?
Through you, Mr. Chair, it's different than a motion to reconsider. A motion to reconsider is off the table right now because that has to be introduced before the end of the meeting where the motion was originally put.
Got it.
So we don't have the opportunity to reconsider. It would have to be a motion to rescind.
I understand now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Lane.
Yes, thank you. I have to concur with Councillor King is that either sitting here or sitting out there, I remember hearing distinctly the fact that this particular trailer had been purchased, and in fact, if it was not to be used there, or if it was become redundant at the arena, it would be moved to Rice Road. I mean, I remember that conversation. So, I mean, I don't, as Mr. Durley has spoken, you know, maybe we're talking about things we don't need to talk about if in fact that's the case. It's too bad we don't have that information in front of us.
Well, colleagues, we have a motion on the floor. Mr. C, you wanted to add something?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I just want to clarify to council that I'm not exactly sure what the status of this contract is, whether or not things have been approved or ordered or whatnot. I would like to check with staff on that. So, I mean, I'm more than able to do that and report back. I just wanted to make sure that that point is clear. I'm just not positive right now.
Mr. Mayor, could you read your motion again so we have clarity on what's before us?
That additional information be provided to council regarding the purchase or lease of a portable building for a staff lunchroom. So it's really just getting us that information, and it's gonna come to council, and there we go.
So in its present form, it's a pretty innocuous motion. We're going to get an additional report which would show us the new location, it would show connectivity, it would tell us whether it's in fact been ordered, and at that point, we can enter into the debate whether we want to rescind and revisit. Is that your understanding?
Yeah.
I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? We got, hold them up again, sorry. I'm old, I count slow. Opposed? Motion's carried. Mr. Mayor, would you like to resume the chair?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Deputy. Shoot the deputy, that's all. Thank you. Our next item has been moved by Councillor Durley, second by Councillor King, that Committee of the Whole receive the January 2014 Community Planning and Development Services Report for information. Any discussion regarding that report? Councillor Kersey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm wondering if it'd be appropriate to request that either the Heritage Committee or staff working with the Heritage Committee take a look at the Maple Acre branch building and report back to us about the actual condition of the building, what its historic value is apart from the emotional historic value, if there are items or elements of that building that could be designated, or it was the intention of the committee to designate, and would bring us, because that seems to be a recurring theme in some of our discussions.
Thank you. Mr. CEO first, and then I see Councillor Durley as our representative on the Heritage Committee who wants to comment as well.
Just to, thank you, Mr. Mayor, just to answer that question that was raised, actually through the Public Works Department, our facilities coordinator is already undertaking that work. I believe that project has gone for tender, and that we will be hopefully proceeding with the selection of the firm that will do the audit, and that audit will be done at Maple Acres first, and the information will be provided to council as soon as it's received. So, short answer is, yeah, we're already doing it.
Okay. Now, what about the heritage piece?
The long
Councillor Durley?
The long answer is that the Heritage Committee is already considered and it is on the list of the registry list at the beginning. It certainly is not designated because nothing has been designated yet, but it is on the list of about 80 properties that have interest, and the committee is looking at that, and that is the first step in order to go towards designation, if in fact it's going to be. And the committee is looking forward to dealing with municipal properties, municipally owned properties, before we go ahead with other properties. But certainly on the list, it's recognized that in fact the heritage attributes will be certainly listed, and a bylaw recommendation come forward to this group for further study when the time is right.
Okay, thank you. Counselor?
Just as a follow-up, Mr. Mayor, through you to Councillor Durley. Councillor Durley, is there any way that you could light a fire under the Heritage Committee to get a report to us sooner rather than later? Since it's an imminent piece, or it's an important piece in the discussions that we're having regarding library services, Maple Acre Branch, et cetera, et cetera. It would be useful to have it as part of our discussions. I don't know.
It has been discussed more than once at committee through you, Mr. Mayor, that a report from the committee to council is forthcoming. It's just a matter of give me the match and I'll light the fire.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any others to the Planning and Development Services report? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. The next item has been moved by Councillor Kersey, second by Councillor Papp, that the Committee of the Whole receive the January 2014 Fire and Bylaw Services Report. Speaking of matches and fires, any comments, questions regarding this particular report? Councillor Ribbiak.
For information, for those of us who just don't know, what is a Class B uniform?
To you, Mr. Mayor, it's a non-dress uniform, so when we have our full, like tunic and where we wear medals and our hats and that's an A uniform, and a B uniform is, just shirt and pant. Something.
So you're in a B?
Yep. But it's all dark.
He's
so
in a
they're
B
all-
variation.
It's black top, black bottom, and it's proper fire uniform.
Tie with that one.
And
Yeah, are you asking whether he should be wearing a tie this evening? Is that what you're about to ask? Oh, you weren't. Go ahead.
Different question.
Oh, go ahead, Councillor.
And I appreciate, Chief, that through you, Mr. Mayor, that we want our firefighters to look professional at all times. Is that the reason why they're going to be required to wear those uniforms to all fire department functions, including training? Maybe you can expand on that a little bit.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. One of my initiatives coming to taking this position was to bring all three stations together, so we all look the same. We wear the same uniforms. We look professional. One of my pet peeves is you drive by the station, somebody's out front practicing, and they got a T-shirt on and a pair of blue jeans, and people know, there's a couple of old volunteers, right? So it's like, so now we all look the same, and when you see us, we'll represent the town, and it's across the board.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That significance had escaped me, and I think it's excellent. Just marvelous. Thank you.
Thank you. Others? There being no others, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you, Chief. It's been moved by Councillor Lane, second by Councillor Papp. The Committee of the Whole received the issue sheet providing the Christmas in Pelham final report for information. Councillor Durley, did you want to, is this the point where you want to comment on the?
No, it's coming up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Certainly kudos to all that put this report together and those that were involved in the Christmas in Pelham. As the report showed, it was a very, very successful event for the community. So many people talking to us about it and how wonderful it was and wanting it to continue, and pleased to see that the committee feels the same way and has made suggestions in order to make it better. So thank you very much to all members of the committee for that and those that participated in it. The numbers as well are outstanding in terms of the those that were there. Was it 1,500? Is that correct? Yeah, that's great for the first year. So thank you very much. Councillor Kersey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, kudos to all those that worked on Christmas in Pelham, staff and volunteers as well, just to echo your commentary. I've been thinking about this. This event is evolving into being a significant event in our community. And so what I'd like to bring to committee is whether or not we should give some consideration to making Christmas in Pelham committee a committee of council and develop a terms of reference, and similar to the way we have Summerfest structured. And that way, it would provide a direct reporting facility back to council. It would provide access to, staff facilities, et cetera, et cetera. And I think, and it would enable us as council to lend our support to the Christmas in Pelham volunteers as they move forward with the work, because I see this evolving into a significant event, more significant than it even has, so.
Okay.
So that would be
Thank you.
something
So-
I'd like to throw out there.
Maybe that would be a motion or a direction to staff to develop a terms of reference for the potential Christmas in Pelham committee. So there'd be a committee of, authorized committee of the town. Is that what you're
Yes,
suggesting?
that's exactly what I'm suggesting. I'd be happy to make that
Okay.
as a motion or direction, whichever you prefer.
Mr. CEO?
Direction is fine, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. We'll take that as staff direction on that.
Thank you.
And just in terms of you saying it's a significant event, it certainly is, and the numbers I was quoting on the 1,500, that was just for one portion of the, multi-day, month-and-a-half event, so. Are all colleagues fine with that direction? That something come back to us on that? Okay, we'll take that as a deemed direction. Anything further on the Christmas in Pelham report? There being no others, I will call the question with that direction embedded. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor King, seconded by Councillor Durley. The Committee of the Whole received the January 2014 Recreation, Culture and Wellness Department report for information. Councillor Durley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Two things, and the first is something we should all be very proud of. In front of Miss Van Ravensway, perhaps if you can pick up that sign at the AMO conference in Ottawa, we met with these people, and this is something we should all be proud of in the cooperation with the town, with the community, with the Active Transportation Committee and Bike Friendlies. We were recognized with a silver accreditation of being a bicycle-friendly community, and it certainly is something to be proud of. We're I believe, the first community of our size to have been recognized as a bicycle friendly, and that's something to be proud of. Now, we asked for several signs and we only have one. We'd like to get them up so that the folks in this community can get to see them, and perhaps we can try to get some copies of this made or something to do that. We also asked for some flags that they had, and hopefully they're forthcoming. However, at this particular time, we haven't. But this is certainly something to be proud of, and we celebrate one of the great successes, many successes that we've had, and certainly this is something that we're there. Good work, staff, and everybody who contributed to that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Durley, for raising that, and Ms. Van Ravensway for being our Vanna this evening. Thank you. And Councillor Durley had a second issue.
The second thing, and just building on what Councillor Kersey just said, the success of the event under the arches during the Christmas in Pelham, I'm just wondering, and actually looking at the supper market idea that is being put forth by two of our business communities, looking to see, and I wonder if we can direct staff to explore a possibility of expanding Thursday night activities to under the arches, and to have something available there, if not every Thursday, at least try to get it started. And I know I spoke to Ms. Van Ravensway before this meeting, and she has some meetings with the market group and with other groups, with the Banshall group as well, and we're looking at not only working on that, but also working with some of the other large parking lots in the area that we can provide different solutions to the lack of parking and so on. So if in fact this can be brought forward as well to the discussion, to see if we can do it, because certainly the success is there, and if we could build on that, and as Councillor Kersey pointed out, the great success that we had shivering when the winter was on. However, everybody was there, and it was received with great excitement. So I think we could really try and build on that if we can, and I would like to direct staff to explore these possibilities, and certainly if we can keep our ears to the ground and anything that can come positive about that, certainly try to promote that, and that will do a lot to help our community. I've got.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor. Ms. Van Ravensway, you got a thumbs up for that as you continue to do that. And I know that just regarding parking, that you've had some meetings with some of the direction that council gave regarding parking on the Thursday nights and some work together with that. So thank you for doing that. Thank you, Councillor. We'll look forward to hearing some more information about that. Anything further from members of council? Councillor Pat?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you to Vicky. Two quick questions. Pelham Active Transportation Committee, I note that the project about wayfinding signage has been approved. I was reading in there that there's funding the region has approved for the town. What exactly does that, what's going to happen? Can you tell me, just or share with us what?
Yes, the public health received funding
Right.
for the regional wayfinding signage for the bicycle-friendly aspect. The three municipalities, Welland, Thorold, and ourselves, are included in that. The region has, they will be, they would like to give the money over to Pelham. We will head the project with regional staff, and a RFP will be going out for a consultant to head that group, and the wayfinding signage will be used across the region, and it will be the same everywhere, so it's recognizable. That's the whole idea of it.
It's excellent. And I also see that you got to have the money spent by the end of March.
Yeah, no kidding.
Really, 6 weeks, 8 weeks?
It's very, very quick, and we just
Okay,
found
well,
out last
good luck
week,
to you.
so-
No, I'm very happy to see this. And then other quick, Pelham Farmers Market, I just said, applications available at the municipal office and website. Do we actually put an ad in the Voice and the Pelham News? Do we use them as well to advertise that? So vendors who are interested in applying for the farmers market, or are those the only two venues? Yeah.
That, the town advertises through those venues. The farmer's market, they may decide to put an ad in the local
Themselves.
newspapers themselves.
Okay, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Kersey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Ms. Van Ravensway. With respect to the wayfinding signs, I understand it's a regional effort, but will we be able to incorporate our new logo onto the pieces that are within our community? I'd like to see that, because that'll tie in with the consistent signage that we're hoping to have unveiled in 2014.
That is one of the aspects that we could include in the discussions with consultants. There will also be a public meeting and so forth, so.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks for raising those issues. Are we ready for the calling of the question? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you for your ongoing work in that area. It has been moved by Councillor Durley, second by Councillor King, that the issue summary report 2014 municipal election overview be received, and that the Committee of the Whole recommend that the clerk be directed to prepare the necessary election-related bylaws for consideration by council as follows. 1. Addition of the touchscreen voter tabulator as a vote counting opportunity. 2. Bylaw to establish the dates for advance voting opportunities. 3. Bylaw to establish polling places at long-term care facilities and to provide for reduced voting hours in those areas. And 4. A bylaw to repeal the composite ballot bylaw that is now redundant. Any discussion? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you for your work on that. It has been moved by Councillor Papp. The Committee of the Whole receive the January 2014 Clerk's Department report for information. Councillor Durley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and celebrating successes is a good thing, and I would like to really bring to everybody's attention the congratulations to Clerk Nancy Bizzato for completing the Municipal Law Unit 3 program and enrolling in Unit 4, which I think is the last unit that has to be there, and after that she'll be even smarter than she is right now.
Thank you, Councillor.
And we won't have to pay those legal fees anymore. We'll just
Thank you. Congratulations. Any others to the comprehensive report? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Again, congratulations. It has been moved by Councillor Papp that Committee of the Whole receive the January 2014 Chief Administrative Officer's Report for information. Comments, questions? Mr. CAO, I just, would you just comment quickly on the staff, strategic staff initiatives portion of that? It appeared to me it's different than a normal challenge map.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's correct. It is not a challenge map. And I apologize if the arrows indicate somewhat that it is. All I'm doing here is indicating Council's 5 goals are at the top, and the staff initiatives that will be attempting to undertake to support those goals are the boxes below. And that is that was compiled from the existing strategic plan. It's also been compiled from the work that we have done just recently to update the 2014 plan, and we'll hopefully be adding a few more initiatives in the area of economic development once we complete that work with the committee on Wednesday. So one thing doesn't lead to another. They're just organized under each goal so that you can clearly see what initiatives are being undertaken. Those initiatives then will be worked into the performance management system or performance planning system that we've talked to council about, and staff will be evaluated based on their ability to achieve those initiatives.
Thank you very much, Mr. CAO. Any questions, comments for the CAO in regard to his report? Councillor Gurley.
Just, I'm looking with interest at the web analytics for the Pelham.ca, and the total visits, is that to date, through you, Mr. Mayor, to the CAO?
Mr. CAO.
Total visits over 11,000?
Yeah, I believe that's the period of December 16th to January 28th. That represents the visits during that time period.
It is amazing because looking at it, there's, 405 visitors from the United States and 363 visitors internationally, and we're getting hits from all over the place, and it's just amazing. The new website is certainly an attractive one. Congratulations to the folks who put that together, and this shows just how well we're communicating with the world, actually. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor, for highlighting that. Mr. CAO, you want to add to that?
Not to that specific, but I do have information that I think council might find useful tonight as part of my report, if I may, Mr.
Go ahead.
Mayor. Just minutes prior to the meeting, I was informed by email, and I've sent that to council, that finally the OMB has ruled on the consent application and has now ordered that the secondary plan come into force and effect. So just to get that out in the public, we'll put a press release out tomorrow with regards to that, and I'm sure that the development community will be pleased as mayor and council, and certainly the planning department and staff is ecstatic over this long awaited decision.
Great. Congratulations to everyone that's been participant in that. It's many years coming, and it's nice to see that that particular chapter is closed, and we look forward to the next phase, which is for the official plan. So that means that orderly development can now proceed in the East Fonthill area, and it's appropriate that we're looking for an appropriate name for that development. So congratulations to all that have worked on that, and we look forward to development occurring in that area, and that it's appropriate that you mention it at this time, because one of the goals that has been outlined is something that I'm hearing in the community, and no doubt councillors are as well. How might we maintain our small town feel while we grow? And I think that's one of the strategic planks that council said that it wants to follow up on, and will be extremely important. And this plan is part of that process. So thank you for bringing us up to speed on that. Any other comments, questions? Councillor Kersey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm almost reluctant to raise a more mundane question after such a good announcement, but I would like to anyway. I'm just wondering, are we completed the website? Is this a work in progress that will continue to add infant? And are we within budget, over budget, et cetera, et cetera?
We're within, first of all, we're within budget as far as the initial project goes. There may be additional budget requests as we add to it, but that remains to be seen. Is the website done? No, not by any means. There's still a number of things that need to be done. We're looking at e-commerce and different components that we still want to pursue. I think we've got a great start on it, but it's something that will continue. And secondarily, as far as the website's relevance, it has to be maintained. And you'll notice in the staff initiatives that there will be a performance measurement on each department's ability to maintain their content and keep it up to the most current date. And we will be evaluating that as it is critical to its relevancy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mr. CAO. So these additional components to the website, are they still going to fall within the budget outlined initially, or is it going to be new reports coming back to us?
I might defer that to the treasurer, Mr. Mayor.
Were you able to answer that?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. The original budget is still intact. Any additional things that we are doing, the e-commerce was budgeted separately under the financial management system.
I see.
And that was approved, and it hasn't been touched yet because we haven't got the quotes, and we don't even know if we're going forward with what software choice we have at this time. But the other items are, they're smaller ticket items that we're looking at, and they will just be covered under operating because it's just a regular maintenance item on some of the stuff. And that's if we even decide to go forward with it. But that's what that committee will decide once it's established.
Okay, thank you. Anything further? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you very much as well for that excellent news. And now it has been moved by Councillor Durley, seconded by Councillor King. This regular meeting of Committee of the Whole be adjourned until the next regular committee scheduled for Tuesday, February 18th, 2014, unless sooner called by the mayor. And the reason for the Tuesday is for Family Day. Going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. This committee meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Did you bring camera tonight, Al?